Hello, my brothers and sisters. Today we're going to be talking about Parshat Ki Teitzei. Please forgive me for my voice. I am not exactly in the right health right now, but I need to get this off my chest because there is a lot of people that are confused about certain things. And I want to start off by saying that the Torah was written perfectly. But the problem is, it was due to persecution misinterpreted, especially when you go into the English. It's misinterpreted even in modern Hebrew. And because of that, you cannot see things for its face value. And you need to understand the reality of it, and when you study it over and over again, and not take other people's interpretation, but instead your own, and then you could compare it to the other's interpretation, you will have the true meaning come to you at its right time. So now we will start off by saying that Parshat Ki Teitzei has more to it than what it appears. And a lot of you that sent me confused questions, that you were confused, that you didn't know the meaning of, or couldn't understand why God is so cruel, or why is a woman to blame, or something. This isn't about a woman and a man. There is more to it than that. It appears at face value, but if you even read it in English, you will find out that there is different translations to it, that you will figure it out only because you saw what you wanted to see and not what was truly there. So now we will go into what is it all about. If you look into Dvarim, it's a time frame of about 5 to 6 weeks, where Moshe Rabbeinu was preparing Israel for his leave or departure from being a corporeal being in this earth. He was also preparing them for Israel. He knew, after seeing the Israelite people commit so many sins over and over again, he knew that there was a problem, and he knew that when he was to pass, that what would happen is the Israelite people would sin again. And this needed to be controlled. So he wanted to put the fear of judgment into them. And he wanted them to make sure that they understood what judgment was, so they would not listen to the evil inclinations and commit sins against the Lord of hosts. This is what it really is about. It comes right after Parashat Shoftim, which means to appoint judges. As you know, today most of the judges that we have are not true judges. They are evil in themselves. They do not know their way. They know what is right or wrong and commit sins. They add to the Torah, further complicating things, separating one from the other, and also becoming an Amalekite. And now I will speak to you about this in full detail. The fear of judgment is very important. A lot of people misinterpret it. They interpret it and twist it however they want. If you see the other realm, the other dimension, you will understand the importance of judgment. And that even them, after first and second judgment, they are in the next realm tortured, even from the smallest of sin, and striving to do great deeds. And it is harder for them to do deeds in that world than anywhere else. That dimension You will hear sorrows. You will you will know shame. You will feel shame. And this is not what you need. You need to understand judgment so times like that do not happen. And that you rule justly. So just like in Shoftim, where you set yourself appointed judges, in this Elul, you need to understand why all of this is coming into play. Why the Lord of Hosts chose to orchestrate it in the way it is in that order. Because right now in Parashat Ki Teitzei, you have to understand that you are now the judge. You have to appoint yourself judges in your consciousness to know what is right or wrong, to understand what judgment is so you do not falter. That is what Parashat Ki Teitzei is. It's to go out and find your enemy, but not the enemy that you think. It is the enemy within yourself. So let's get into that. So as I said before, Parashat Ki Teitzei, where you are taught that you need to set up self-appointed judges in your consciousness to make you be careful in how you use your tongues and your hands or your actions in general. This parasha in face value speaks of many things. The point is, it's just face value. You guys have to look from within it. People must understand the deeper meaning behind it. In Elul, it is a time where you need to go out and seek that enemy from within and destroy that enemy from within by calling it out, understanding what it is, and fearing judgment, so you will not bend your tongues or turn away from the Lord of Hosts. Face any enemy that comes in your path, any enemy, whether it be spiritual, whether it be in yourself or in others around you, that make you falter, that make you turn from the Lord of Hosts. You have to understand that, how important it is, that the essence, the inclination, the evil inclination as they call it, that nature that wants you to oppose the word of our Master and Father. This time is for self-evaluation. This time is you going into war with yourself. This time is for you to get ready to start a new year. What is Israel? We're going to go into that. What does it really mean? But when you go into Israel, we're going to get into that. But when you go into Israel, into the land, but it is not into the land, it is more into the mindset. As being an Israelite is not a blood thing, as these sodomites want you to believe. Being an Israelite has very much to do with your actions. If you give in to Amalek, you are Amalek. And we will get into the definition of what Amalek is. But you need to understand that these sodomites are brought here to destroy you, to separate my father's people, to destroy and eliminate. It wasn't much about control. It is control only to destroy. They are here. They were among us before. They convinced your brothers and sisters to kill themselves in Masada. They convinced your brothers and sisters to turn away from the Lord of Hosts many times over, and now they're here to do the same. They hold high positions and will aim to do anything to destroy my father's people. So you need to understand this judgment by seeking out the truth, by learning the truth for yourself and then comparing it with other people's truth, and see what is the real truth behind it. and what is not, what is face value, and what has a greater meaning. This evil inclination exists within all of you. Now we will go in to the definition of Israel. Please forgive me again, I am not feeling well. We will go into the definitions of Israel. What does it mean? And like I said, it has nothing to do with blood, it has to do with action. But what does the actual word Israel mean? And we will go into what does Amalek mean. What is Israel and what is Amalek? What is Israel? Israel means to rule with God. Israel also means God judges and God rules. Israel also means the right path, the righteous path, as when one fears judgment, one shall always be accountable, and that feeling of accountability leads to reflection and being proactive against doing evil, and the want to better oneself. You need to understand this very clearly. When one fears judgment and one understands who the judge is, and one understands who the Lord of hosts is, one will always be proactive in fighting and understanding and knowing what is evil. One will always strive to do better and to be righteous. When you were on your way to Israel, Amalek became an obstacle. What is Amalek? Some I heard say it means Alek, which means a nation unto you. But that is not how it is spelled, as Alek in ancient times meant on you. But that is not how it is spelled, because it is spelled differently. As it is not written that way at all. Now for the truth. The Ain and Amalek, in what is called Paleo-Hebrew, in what is real Hebrew, is symbolized with an I. When you take out the Ain, the I, you are left with Malek, which means severed, chopped off, cut out. This means that these people do not see nor care for what is right or wrong. They are cut off spiritually and concentrate mostly on what is physical and not spiritual. They do not care about judgment. They know everything of the laws and do everything to do against the laws. They give you justifications in your mind to think that it is justified to do whatever action you want to do instead of what you need to do. It is an abomination, and that is what they follow. They are not Yireh Elohim. They are not Yireh Shamayim, as it is called. They are the opposite of what is good. They are the true definition of darkness and evil and wickedness. They are the balance in this earth. They are the negative to the positive. And this is what they are. That is what Amalek is. You need to understand that in Elul, when it says that you have to, Ki Teitzei, to go out and go into war against your oivecha, your enemy. It is the enemy from within you, the evil inclination, the evil that is in you. It is the time of self-reflection. It is the time to do good to be righteous so you can start anew. And I will explain this because a lot of you had issues with some of the things that my father said, because you read it wrong, or perhaps you translated it incorrectly, or perhaps you just wanted to see something that you wanted to see, but not what was truly there. And we will go into that, and I will explain to you how that ties in to what we are now going through. How that ties into what you are now going through. So now we will go into that, and I want to see what you have to say. In Torah, you are commanded to fight and kill Amalek. This means, in true form, that you must every day be proactive to fight the enemy from within, by being accountable and fear judgment and act righteously, as if you give into Amalek. You become Amalek. This is the true reality of it all. There is no ways around that. So I want you to understand that and tell me what you think. Deuteronomy 21 is what you all had issues with. And it says this in English and in Hebrew, translated at face value this way. When you go out to war against your enemies, and Adonai your God hands them over to you, and you take prisoners, and you see among the prisoners a woman who looks good to you, and you feel attracted to her, and want her as your wife, you are to bring her home to your house, where she will shave her head, cut her fingernails, and remove her clothes of captivity. She will stay there in your house, mourning her father and mother for a full month, after which you then can take her as a wife and you be as a husband to her. Now, a lot of people say this is wrong. What gives man an issue to claim a woman of the fields who just lost a mother and father, who just lost her friends and family in the war? What gives an Israelite that authority to take her as a wife? In today's world, you might think this is a bad thing. The true translation, is back in those times. Women were very dependent on man. The women that were left in the fields to scream were never heard of. Someone else would come, rape them, kill them, even in times even eat them. They would be stolen from, ripped out, and have no other chance to better their lives or to return. This is why it was an Israelite man's responsibility to take care of that woman, to see in her the goodness and the light. Now for the bigger meaning, for the meaning they do not discuss. That woman represents the spark, the lost. And I'll get into that in the 23rd and the 23, as they call it. And it says, if there is a virgin girl betrothed to a man, and another man finds her in the city and lies with her, you shall take them both out to the gate of that city, and you shall pelt them with stones, and they shall die. the girl because she did not cry out, even though she was in the city, and the man because he violated his neighbor's wife. So shall you clear away the evil from among you. But if a man finds the betrothed girl in the field, and the man overpowers her, and lies with her, then and only then the man who lays with her shall die. But the girl shall not die, because her sin is not deserving of death. For just as a man rises up against his fellow and murders him, so is this case, because he found her in the field. The betrothed girl had cried out, but there was no one to save her. Now we have the comparison, because this was another one, 23, that a lot of you misread. But now you have the issues here that speak very loud and clear. The first thing is that you need to see city and need to see that as kingdom, of a place where people know what is right or wrong. And then the field where the righteous woman is not killed. She screams over there, but in the other place she did not scream. So you need to understand the difference between them two. And in the field the person is lost. He does not know what is right or wrong. But she screams. Screams for people, for the righteous ones, for the light to all nations to find her. Screams to find her so she can be collected. But I'm not going into that right now. First we're going to speak about this. We have the kingdom and we have the field. In the kingdom, you notice it doesn't say what in the field it said, which said that the man overpowered her. So in the kingdom they knew right from wrong, and the man did not overpower the woman, but instead laid with her. That means the woman consented, the betrothed woman. That means both of them committed adultery, which is punishable by death. In the field, she was raped. She screamed also, which the one over there did not. But she was lost. She did not know right from wrong. She was a spark, waiting to be collected, but instead was raped. For that, the man is killed, and the woman is saved. She was not overpowered, therefore she did not do a sin. The man, on the other hand, committed the same act as killing his fellow neighbor, because he committed adultery by stealing his wife, or his betrothed, as they say, which was one of the same thing back in those times. Now we skip back to, we go back to 21, where people tell me my father is cruel because of the, to pluck a person after killing their families in a war. First off, you need to understand that when Israel fought any war, it was a war that was ordained to make them better, but it was a war against true evil. Israel did not go with the judgment of God and do what the other nations have done, twist and turn their words to try to seize and kill people for no reason at all. When they killed their enemies, they killed those who wanted death for them. Now what happened is, how do you describe the mourning? How do you describe the mourning? Why let that woman capture her, take her, pluck her from the field, bring her into your house, have her cut off her fingernails, have her shave her head, and have her take off the clothes of captivity and mourn for an entire month her mother and father? What does that translate to today? She was a spark of Israel. The sparks of Israel are everywhere, much like the converts. She screams in a place where no one can hear her. That woman represents the convert and represents the ability for an Israelite to do a great deed, to pluck her from the field, to renew her, to take off the clothes of idolatry, of her past, of her captivity, because she was a slave, for she did not know truth. She only knew deceit. But the Lord in her saw a righteous person waiting to be returned, waiting to be plucked and to be made anew. She shaved her head, representing to be anew, to regrowth. Her nails that grow, she chopped off as well, again for regrowth. She mourned her fallen, she mourned her past life, her life of idolatry, her life of deceit, so she can be ready to be renewed by this Israelite who plucked her, so he may teach her the truth and honor her with respect, love, and kindness, and not forsake her, never to leave her. This is something a lot of you need to understand. Before reading things at face value, you need to understand the differences. As I said, in the city they knew what was right or wrong. They were in the kingdom. And therefore, they understood, and yet he also did not overpower her. That's something for you to understand, where in the field she was overpowered. Now to conclude, before you were in the kingdom, you knew what was right and what was wrong. You knew what was pure and what was not. Today you are in Galut. You are in exile. You are in the fields. You scream to everyone and they do not hear you. But you never scream to the Lord of hosts. On Elul, the kingdom is present, and your screams shall be heard. But it also represents another thing. Your self-reflection, today we see so many, even on the days of atonement, they throw bread into the water as if they signify their throwing of their sins, only to repeat the same sins again and again. And they learn nothing. For that it does not matter. In this day you need to be feeling accountable. You need to cry to the Lord of hosts. You need to pray to him, not for forgiveness, but for a way out, for a clear path so you can see clearly, so you can combat the Amalek within you. And the Lord gave you the woman who screams in the field, a chance for you all to do great deeds, and that woman is the cartilage of the scattered bones. That woman is the convert. She screams and the world does not hear. They reject her, they humiliate her, they label her, they conspire against her, they speak with evil tongues, they defile the laws of my Father of acceptance, and they toss her to the fields, back to the fields. And she is a spark waiting to be plucked, waiting to be taken in. She screams with passion, waiting to be loved, waiting to be embraced, waiting to be taught the truth from the light that has become the darkness. That beautiful woman is waiting for you, Israel, to return her. She was a gift to you to repent by doing great deeds to counteract the sins of your past. But instead, you have made false kings, false prophets, take her over, reject her, and justify to you that she is not needed, and that you are better left isolated, separated, and cut off from her. It is because these people are not just Sodomites. They have the essence of Amalek. For their eyes are blind and are cut off spiritually. These puppets of Sodom, their eyes are cut off. They do not see spiritually. And for that they do not fear judgment. And they will bend you all and turn your backs against my Father by rejecting the gift he has blessed you with. So I tell you this, nation of Israel, on this Elul, let you become the Israelite nation again. Reject the false prophets. Reject the false kings that sit before you. And turn to the Lord of hosts. Turn to Elohim. Turn to him and see his greatness and glorify his greatness to the world by learning to accept them, learning to love them, learning to never forsake them, never label them, never bend your tongue against them. Embrace them, you ungrateful, stiff-necked children. Embrace the miracle that my Father has given you. Embrace the opportunity of greatness that my Father has given you. Make a different world. Each of you have the power to bend the right way or bend to the left way. Bend to the way of the light. Bend to the path. Walk in that path. Be proactive. Understand you're wrong. Wash away your sins by counterbalancing it with acts of deeds. Form sects. The sects are an abomination. But form a sect among you, a new nation, a nation of Torah, a nation of purity, a nation where no false judge or king stands before you, a nation that does as our Father commands. You were told by our Father to find yourselves righteous leaders, and that they have a better perception of this world than those of the past. You need to understand something. The people of today, they have no perception. Their eyes are cut off. They are isolated. They have no idea what is the time of now. They live in the past, but they live with only one plan, and that is to destroy you. You need to turn to the righteous Rabbanim, the one who live the truth and know the truth. You will not find them in leadership positions because they did not be corrupted to enter those positions. Those positions are only held by the corruptors. Turn away from the corruptors and understand that every convert is to be embraced, loved, and cared for. That it is your job in Elul right now to understand this sin that you have made and to have sight and not have your eyes cut off spiritually, that you may see the sparks of light and gather them and pluck them from the field and embrace and love them and show them the way of light and glorify our Father's name to them, so they may glorify and join you in those efforts and glorify the name and become one with Israel and glorify the name of the Lord of hosts. You will see this when you pass, I promise you. If this is what you see now, you will see this when you pass on to the next dimension. And you will understand and you will know what shame is before you are nothing, before you are dust. You will understand and you will know that it is hopeless to return from where you are. unless you make a change right here, right now. This Elul is more important than any Eluls that existed before times. And remember that I warned you about this and that I told you about this. And the few Eluls or the Eluls that approach are going to be more important. Let you not wait till then, when the words too late will clutter your minds. Now is the time to turn away from the sin. Now is the time to reflect. Let this day be the day of reflection, to be approaching the new, the days of awe, as they call it. I want you all to accept the convert. Any three real, true Israelites who keeps the law of Elohim. All of you, I want you to convert them and accept them and love them and teach them and be a great partner to them. Never forsake them. Bring them in and let them grow. Let them overpopulate the evils. Let them drown the evils out. That is all I have to say. I hope that my words find you. And I hope that it means something to you. Because I promise you it will mean something to you. One day it will mean something to you. But I need it to mean something to you now. I am here to tell you this now. I am here to try to make you see the light now. Do what you will, but you will learn accountability, one way or the other. May the Lord of hosts bless each and every one of you to see the light and be the light to all nations, to gather and pluck all the scattered sparks and bring them together to be a flame, to join your flame and become one as a giant flame, for only that will glorify my Father's name. And only then shall your slichot have any meaning. Otherwise, don't bother fasting. Don't bother praying, for the Lord turned his ear from you, and your prayers are an abomination, and so is your existence. Become Israel. Become Israelites by following the true path of light, the Torah of our Father. I hope this finds you all. Again, I do apologize for me being sick. If I have to do this video again, so be it. But this is me talking to you. More important than he talking to you. This is me talking to you. Me reaching out to you. Me trying to connect with you. Me trying to make you see the right from wrong. Because I've seen this many years and know the corruption that was in each and every one of you. And I've seen it all the time and even expected the worst. And my Father has blessed me to see the goodness in you. Has blessed me to see the spark of goodness in you. So I can have hope that perhaps one day you will return, because you still hold on to certain traditions. There once was a man that lived, who was an amazing man, who was called the boldest. He was bold for a reason, very bold in his words. not because he hated you, but because he loved you. And he knew that the only way to awaken your souls was to be blunt and to be bold and to be daring. He constantly tried to show you that the idols of the earth were weak and nothing, and even commanded his own Father, the Lord of hosts, to perform a miracle so people, even of the idolaters, would see. And they all fell when the beautiful miracle came. The giant spark of my Father came and devoured. They fell to their faces and all knew the Lord's name. That man was an amazing man. Even though he judges himself every time, this is why he was amazing. Lots of people thought he hated them back then, but he did it because he loved them. And because of him, he repaired them. So I guess perhaps maybe this time is meant to do the same. For the connection to be between man and God, and not man and idols, or self-appointed judges of evil and destruction. The war with Amalek continues. The Sodomites are among you. This is the time you should feel backed into a corner. You shouldn't feel happy. This is the time you should feel that you're on an edge of a mountain about to fall. And this is the time you should understand that now you turn, more than any time, now you turn to your Father Elohim. And you cry out to Him. For now, He is in the field. And your cries shall be heard. And your cries shall be known. And your cries shall be understood. The evils of Sodom inflict the land of Israel. They are all over the Rabbanut of Israel. These people are corrupted, that even on the Sabbath day, they could not even wait. And they launch and build towards their Tower of Babel. And they do not understand what they have just done. They claimed it was out of protection. They were allowed to break the Sabbath. Protection. This rabbi that permitted this will be held accountable and will die. His time will come. He has done this and committed an evil sin. One that will be heard, one that will not go unpunished, one that shall be acknowledged. He has sent up this thing and permitted this to happen and justified it by protection. Protection. Have you forgot to turn to the one you claim you know? That you could not even wait? Protection. All the wars of Israel, even in modern time, did we rely on protection or did we rely on Elohim? Even when the odds were against you all, you succeeded. And yet you still let these puppets of Sodom rule you. They have broken the Sabbath, and Israel shall be punished for it. If his day will come, and I urge all to know that when it does, that you all will see this as a sign. I have to go now. I hope my words found you, and I hope that you heed them well. Take care.